Every wino down in Wineville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch who lived just north of Wineville
did not.
The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, no one knows quite the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that the Syrah was a tad bit too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his wine glass was 20 sizes too small. Whatever the reason, his Syrah or his glass, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the winos and all their wine stash, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm-lighted windows below in Del Rio town. For he knew every wino down in Wineville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath.
And they're hanging their stockings?
He snarled with a sneer.
Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here.
Then he growled with his Grinch fingers, nervously drumming.
I must find some way to stop these winos' Christmas from coming.
For tomorrow he knew all the wino girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd run for their wine and wine toys. And then, oh the noise, oh the noise.
Noise, noise, noise.
That's one thing he hated, the noise.
Noise, noise, noise.
Then the winos young and old would sit down to a wine and food feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast.
Feast, feast, feast.
They would feast on wine pudding and wine-soaked roast beef, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every wino in Wineville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with wine glasses clinging. They'd stand glass and glass, and the winos would start singing. They'd sing and they'd drink, and they'd sing and they'd drink.
Drink, sing, drink, sing.
And the more the Grinch thought of this wino Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought,
I must stop this whole wine thing. Why, for 25 years I put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming, but how?
Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful wine idea.
I know just what to do.
The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat, and he chuckled and he clucked.
What a great Grinchy trick. With the coat and this hat, I could be just like St. Nick. All I need is a reindeer.
The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said,
if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead.
So he called for Boone. Then he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some barrels and some old empty tanks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Boone. Then the Grinch said,
giddy up, Boone.
And the sleigh started down toward the tasting room, where the winos lay a snooze in their Del Rio town smelling of wine booze. All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the winos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on Old Del Rio Square,
this is stop number 1.
The old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty barrels and fists. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two, then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue. Were the little wino stockings all hung in a row?
These stockings,
he grinned,
are the first thing to go.
Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every single wine present. Glasses, decanters, openers, and port that smelt like plums, Pinots and Shards, Brie, and the obvious Tums. And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the barrels one by one up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the wino's feast. He took the wine pudding. He took the wine-soaked roast beef. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of wino library stash. Then he stuffed all the food and wine up the chimney with glee.
And now,
grinned the Grinch,
I will stuff up the tree.
And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small wino, little Cindy Wino who was not more than a day over 32. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny wino daughter who'd got out of bed for a cup of wine. I'm sure it was not for cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said,
"Why, Santa, why? Why are you taking our tree? Oh, why?
But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick.
Why, my sweet little Cindy,
The fake Santa Claus lied.
there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there. I'll bring it back here.
And his fib fooled the wino, then he patted her head, and he got her some wine, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Wino Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log for the fire. Then he went up the chimney, himself, that old liar. All the winos still abed, all the winos still a snooze. When he packed up his sled, packed it up with their presents. The ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings, 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Del Rio, he rode with his load to the tip top to dump it.
Hoo-hoo to the winos who's.
He was grinchiously humming.
They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just making up, I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the winos down in Whiteville will cry, boo-hoo. What a noise.
Grinned the Grinch.
That I simply must hear.
So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was so merry.
Very.
He stared down at Wineville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every wino down in Wineville, the tall and the small, was singing and drinking without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming at all.
It came.
Somehow or other, it came just the same, and the Grinch with the Grinch feet ice cold in the snow stood puzzling and puzzling.
How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags.
And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before.
Maybe Christmas.
He thought,
Does it come from a store? Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more.
and what happened then? In Wineville, they say that the Grinch's glass grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his glass didn't feel so tight, and he wheezed with his load through the bright morning light, and he bought back the wine and the food for the feast, and he himself even brought the wine-soaked roast feast.
Oh, wino hearts of the world unite. I'm all toasty inside.
Welcome Christmas, spring.